Well, the AlphaStim Aid is a relatively new device, albeit the technology has been around since 1981. It uses a tiny level of electrical stimulation called microcurrent to help the brain produce extra alpha waves. The alpha waves are synonymous with relaxation, alertness, calmness. It's also the only brainwave that goes down into the central nervous system through the spinal cord. It also allows the brain to produce this increased serotonin, so it has effects not only on anxiety but on depression, pain and insomnia. It's very easy to use, it's completely safe, the patient can use it at home, and it presents a really viable alternative to the treatment options that currently exist in the UK market. I discovered NIHR through a Google search following a meeting with NICE in Manchester. The outcome of the meeting with NICE was very positive, but they did say we needed to set up a research project specifically within the NHS. NIHR stood out to me. One of the centres was based in Nottingham, which is where I'm from. I contacted them. I got a response from Professor Richard Morris saying, yeah, this is something they'd really like to help us with. Mindtech have done a fantastic job in terms of, they wrote the protocol. Professor Morris wrote the protocol. Jen Martin was also very instrumental in that. So the protocol was written. We then went back to NIHR to discuss how we got that protocol ready for ethics. And that's where NIHR really came into their own. They recommended a CRO to help facilitate pulling the whole thing together, and the CRO then worked with NIHR in terms of building the cost base and everything that needed to be done to get the research ready for ethics. And as soon as the protocol was ready, we then started the process of patient recruitment with the nurses, the research nurses. The challenges we faced, certainly in the early days, were we had 3 research nurses who were all very familiar with the device. They all used the device, but we were effectively trying to recruit blind because we had a waiting list of patients that we approached with a letter of introduction and a brief protocol of what the study was. And initially the research nurses found that they weren't getting the kind of uptake that they were expecting. So rather than get deflated, they decided to try and approach things slightly differently. We had to rethink about the letter, based on the feedback they've been getting from patients who had responded, and we rewrote the letter, or rather they rewrote the letter, and then we sent it out as a second batch, and that had a far more effective reach in terms of uptake. So yeah, that was one of the main challenges, was the initial uptake was very, very slow. One of the other challenges that the research nurses faced was we were up against it in terms of timescales. We had a 120 patient target over 6 months, so 20 patients a month. And that moved because obviously we had some dropouts as well, and as the study evolved, further challenges presented themselves, so we increased the number. But every challenge that was faced was overcome with absolute gusto by the research nurses. They really, I cannot emphasise enough, they were so enthusiastic about getting the study done, but getting it done effectively, and they achieved what we all set out to do in the timescales, which was remarkable considering the start we had particularly. The study's finished. The last patient's details were taken at the end of 2017, and the outcomes, the efficacy data is exactly as we hoped it would be. We've just finished the health economics, and that again is showing exactly what we hoped it would show in terms of there are some significant cost savings to be made by the NHS. But I think overall the experience for me has been a very positive one. Without the support of Mindtech and NIHR, there's no way the study would have got off the ground. I'm a layman. It was the first time I've done something like this, so we've got a great product, but I don't profess to have any of the connections required to do a research project. So they were absolutely instrumental in getting the whole thing off the ground, and we're now sat here today with the study being finished and just about ready for publication. So, and that's primarily down to those guys.